data-driven decision makings and not just, or data-driven decision making and not just turf or deciding, based on opinion. So we're making some great progress there. I think you're going to see it in the next couple of years in patient outcomes when those increased communication systems, better governing, better franchise agreement, and that will make a big difference for the region.
Turning to the more personal side of Julia Ratty, how have you been able to balance your time? You have a full-time job that's very demanding, and yet you as a public servant, there's also some demands put on you in that realm. So have you learned anything about yourself? Have you learned some new time management skills? To tell us a little bit about that.
I have the most detailed color-coded calendar that you have ever seen. It is a work of art for sure. It's certainly there is that aspect of it where you're trying to, if you will, serve a couple of masters, and you've got your full-time job. And in my case, of course, I worked for the Girl Scouts of the USA. I was the CEO of the Girl Scouts Council here, and what really made it work for me is that it's more about it's more about making the world a better place. And so whether I'm sitting in the chair as a Sparks City Council member or I'm working with the Girl Scouts to help the young women advance their next community service project to make sure that we have the infrastructure that allows them to do that, it really is all about strengthening our community. And so I found that there were lots of places where those two roles blended nicely for me to just be out in the community and working on issues, and that might be as the CEO of the Girl Scouts or in my current role, or that might be as a city council member. And then there were other places where, it really was just a matter of making sure that the top priorities got the attention. And so I feel like I did a good job of keeping that balance and making sure that, the people, the voters who put me here got the responsiveness that they deserved from staff. They got my time and attention, and we got some things done.
What's your perspective on this notion of regional cooperation relationships between Sparks, Reno, Washoe County, and elsewhere?
I think we've made some great progress in some areas, and I think there's still some work to do in others. And I think anytime you get one of those really tough issues where not everybody gets what they were looking for out of the final decisions, sometimes that can be a setback. But I have a lot of faith in the people who step up to do these jobs, and I think that it's going to be fine.
Well, Councilwoman Ratty, thank you for your help and your service, and it's been a pleasure working alongside with you. You've done a remarkable job. You really have, and we're going to miss you, and we're very proud that we've had Julia Ratty, one of the few women, I want to add, that has had the privilege to serve on the Sparks City Council. So thank you for all
Thanks,
that you've done.
I've really, really enjoyed my time as a city council member. It's something I'll cherish for the rest of my life.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes this installment of Spotlight on Sparks. Make sure you follow us on all our social media channels. From all of us at the City of Sparks, thanks for watching.
Kansas? No? Texas is 2-2. In case you really. Barbershop today, and they're all Raiders fans.
Yeah. Mine as high as I
So
can.
of course I go in there, chief it up, and they get all worked
I'm
up.
thank
And
God.
I look that up. That an expression?
Remember Edith
So you gotta.
I'm
So I
so
looked up
dating
chief of the
myself.
overall
Chair.
series.
Yes.
62-50.
So we've got that syndrome going.
How good the Raiders are.
You said we sit down and we look like we're little kids. Yeah.
You know, he gets all worked
Gotta
up.
raise that chair.
We will open this meeting of October 5th at Sparks Planning Commission. And may I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Peterson,
Here.
Commissioner Vanderbilt,
Here.
Commissioner Brock,
Here.
Commissioner Terry,
Present.
Commissioner Phelan,
Here.
Commissioner Reed,
Here.
Assistant City Attorney Allison McCormick,
Here.
Assistant Community Services Director of Development Armando Renal.
Here. Thank you. We'll have this particular sections for public comment. Anyone who wishes to address this commission on any item, either on the agenda or not, may do so. You have up to 3 minutes. Seeing none, we'll move on to the approval of the agenda, please.
Mr. Chair,
Mhm.
I move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Motion to approve the agenda in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We need the approval of the minutes. We have a review of the possible minutes of September 5th for the Planning Commission study session.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I move to approve the minutes of the September 5th Planning Commission study session.
Thank you. Do we have a second, please?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And we have one abstain.
Yeah, Chairman Peterson, I'll abstain from that vote.
Thank you. Moving on, now we'll go and consider the review of the minutes of September 7th Planning Commission meeting. And I guess there was quite a bit of email activity on this. Did we all get notes on this and have read the proposed statement? And are you happy with Commissioner Carey?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a couple of proposed changes to the September 7th commission meeting minutes. Appreciate staff handing out my proposed mock-up for the commission's consideration. Just for the record, I'll kind of go over the changes that I would suggest to make to these commission meeting. Page 3, 5th paragraph, I wanted to clarify my comments or my question to staff about the floor area ratio projects that we've received. So just a small technical change there. Page 3, 6th paragraph, it's staff's answer in response to my questioning about the floor area ratios. It's just a similar technical change to that line of question. I think it kind of reflects more accurately what I believe I said. And then on page 4 of the minutes, the 6th paragraph, I wanted to revise my comments that were in the draft minutes that talked about my feelings with the floor area ratios in that particular area with that proposed project and how it was consistent and or how I felt it was not consistent with the area. I was also wanting to clarify some of the comments that I stated with respect to the 4th Street Prater Way corridor study and future transit service in that area. Appreciate the commission's consideration. Be happy to answer any questions about my proposed changes.
No, sir. The only thing that I have a question is, would you accept these minutes as they are with note that these changes will be made?
Yeah, that would be great, Mr. Chairman, if that's the commission's prerogative. They would be willing to say that. I'd be happy to entertain a motion to that effect.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from the September 7th meeting with the changes proposed by Commissioner Carey.
We have second.
I'll second.
Have a motion, second. Sure stated that with the changes to be included within this minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion so carries. I will move on, and do we have any announcements of committee reports, please?
Chairman Peterson, members of the Planning Commission, we have a couple of announcements. The first is that we do intend to have a second October Planning Commission meeting. It would occur 2 weeks from this evening on October 19th. So we would ask you to keep that on your calendars. And then the second announcement is one that some of you have already heard, and that is that Doug Thornley is leaving the city, and so he won't be on the dais with us anymore. He'll be leaving prior to the 19th, and want to welcome Ms. McCormick, to the dais this evening.
Thank you.
Any information items, or was that it?
We don't have any information items.
All right, thank you. We'll move on to the public hearing items, PCN 17-0045, the consideration and a possible action on a conditional use permit at 2050 Pyramid Way, Sparks, Nevada.
Chairman Peterson, members of the Planning Commission, I'm Ian Crittenden, Senior Planner. This is a conditional use permit request by Michael Mardian for the construction of a 78,485 square foot mini warehouse facility with an office and a manager's residence on the property. The site, as we can see in this vicinity map, is 4.24 acres in size total. The actual area outlined in blue is the approximation of the portion that's actually going to be occupied by the mini warehouse, or is proposed to be occupied by the mini warehouse use. This site, in 2016, a conditional use permit was approved for the construction of a mini warehouse facility. The property owner is negotiating the sale of the western portion of this site to another developer. That split would require a substantial redesign of the mini warehouse facility. And as per the conditions of approval for the original application, this is what was approved previously. This is the site plan for the previous approval. That cut lies along this line that would require this to be changed. That's a substantial change, and as per the conditions of approval, it needed to be reheard by the Planning Commission and reapproved due to that change. So this is the proposed boundary line adjustment or lot split that would take place and would require that. The 2.95 acre parcel on this side being where the mini warehouse facility would now be located. So this is the current site plan. So the site is zone C2, which does allow mini warehouse by subject to a conditional use permit. The most material difference between the current application that's before you tonight and what was approved previously is that access has changed from the west side on Pyramid to the east side on Richards Place, which is a residential street. The site also has emergency access from the western parcel across the north side part of the site, and then would have some exiting to the south to the alley as well. All of the entrance and exits of this would be controlled for obvious reasons in a mini warehouse facility. The major access point being here on Richards Place. So the applicant submitted a traffic analysis which estimated the peak hour trips to be 5. And they also submitted a parking analysis that used IT standards to estimate the number of parking places required to be 10. That parking analysis is being met with this design. The exterior of the facility is the body of which will be ivory. The trim will be terracotta, and the garage doors on the units will be dark brown. The roof will be beige, is what's being proposed. This is the same color palette that was used in the previous approval. The site plan, elevations, and landscape plan are in substantial compliance with the design standards for the C2 zoning district. Any minor changes, such as potential color palette changes or reconfiguration of parking, will be handled administratively through the building permit process. There are 6 findings required for the approval, or 6 findings associated with the approval of conditional use permits. Finding C1 requires that compliance with the comprehensive plan. Mini storage and self-storage facilities are specifically listed as permitted in the C land use in the comprehensive plan. Additionally, this use would support economic vitality in support of goal MG1, foster land use diversity in support of goal MG2, and facilitate infill and redevelopment in support of goal MG4. And as proposed would be considerate and sensitive to the existing neighborhood in support of policy MG11. The use of this site as a mini warehouse facility can be viewed as supporting economic vitality and fostering vitality of the area by providing an infill commercial use on a long vacant parcel, long vacant property. The location of the mini warehouse use adjacent to multifamily can be seen as a complementary use, and the proposed landscaping along the street frontage on Richards Place and the setback of the structures is sensitive to the character of the existing neighborhood. Access to a commercial business from a residential street has been reviewed by the City of Sparks Transportation Manager and been found to be acceptable due to the low traffic generated by this use. Finding C2 requires that the proposed use be compatible with adjacent uses. The site is adjacent to single-family residential to the north, multifamily residential to the east, and then to the south and to the west, it's adjacent to commercially zoned properties. Even the house here on this, the odd kind of triangular portion, is actually all C2 zoned properties as well. The low traffic impact, the setbacks and landscaping have all contributed to staff's opinion that this proposed development, the proposed development of this site as mini warehouse is compatible with the adjacent commercial and residential uses and fosters additional diversity in the land use. Finding C3 and C4 address impacts on natural resources and affordable housing, respectively. The site was previously developed as a commercial use, and the redevelopment of the site as a mini warehouse facility will not further impact the natural resources or the availability of affordable housing. Also, the mini warehouse facility will employ too few people to have an impact on the demand for affordable housing. Finding C5 requires that the proposed project address identified impacts. As I mentioned before, a traffic study was submitted and estimated the number of trips to be generated. The number of trips estimated to be generated was lower than typically would trigger a traffic study, but staff did require a traffic analysis because we were accessing off of a residential street. We wanted to take a hard look at how that was going to impact that location. City staff, the city's transportation manager has reviewed the traffic analysis and concurs with the recommendations contained therein. The applicant also performed a parking analysis, which calculated parking demand based on IT standards, and the sufficient parking based on that parking analysis has been submitted in the proposed site plan. Finally, finding C6 requires that appropriate public noticing be given. Public notice was published in the Reno Gazette-Journal on September 21st. In addition, 88 public notices were mailed to all property owners within 500 feet of the subject site on September 19th. And the Planning Commission serves as the public hearing for this item. Staff believes that the findings associated with this request can be made, and we are recommending approval. That's the end of my presentation. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Have any questions of staff? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ian, I'm sorry, I missed the study session on Tuesday. I was wondering if you could kind of help me orient myself with the site plan and the elevations. From looking through the staff report and the elevations that were submitted, it seems like there's like 3 or 4 different types of buildings. There's like a main building, the office thing, and then there's the typical, and then I think there might be another one. I was kind of curious if you can maybe point out for me where each one of those buildings are.
Sure. So as you can see on this site plan, I'll zoom in. The main large storage building is this piece here, and then there are a few kind of smaller buildings that are throughout the site that all have a very similar cross section and elevation treatment for those. Do you want to go through all of the elevation drawings and talk about?
You don't have to go through all of them. I did have a question about one of the elevations. I think it's the main building, and it's the east elevation. I wanted to make sure, yeah, that one.
Okay.
Which one, is it the east or the west proposed elevation there, would we see from Pyramid Highway?
It would be the
Or Pyramid Way?
Pyramid Way would be the west elevation.
Okay.
Would be the elevation that would face Pyramid Way.
Okay,
West elevation.
Yeah, the west elevation.
the west
would face.
elevation. So there's no proposed landscaping on that side or any further architectural
Not,
articulation?
it will back up to whatever development happens on that western parcel.
Okay. Do we have any projects proposed?
There are some projects that are in the works for that as well.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair? I have a couple of questions, please. Has the lot been split already
It has
into
not
two
yet.
parcel numbers yet?
It has not yet
No.
been split.
So they're in the process of it?
Yes.
Okay. And then the other question is on the approval, it says there's 8 conditions.
Mm-hmm.
Can you point out where the other ones are? Or did I miss something? I apologize.
Way in the back.
Is it way in the back? Okay.
Page
Yeah,
72, I think.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
They're-
thank you.
They're deep in there.
Okay.
They're typically attached per where they come up in the staff report, which
Right.
maybe I need to look at and just have them right after the actual staff report itself.
That's
I've gone back and
perfect.
forth on
Thank
which way to
you.
do that.
No, it's fine. I did the
Thank
same
you.
mistake. I just didn't dig deep enough.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions, staff? Thank you, Ian. Appreciate it. Is the applicant here, please? Would you care to come up, comment? We might have some questions.
Mr. Chairman and commission members, my name is Mike Mardian. Happy to answer any of your questions.
Anybody have any questions of the applicant? Commissioner Carey?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was wondering what the proposed hours of operation for the storage facility would be.
I believe we've got it set for 7 in the morning to 9 p.m.
And would tenants have access to their units after hours?
No.
No, okay.
Any further questions? Applicant?
As far as the parcel map, all the signatures are on. We just need treasurer and county. Takes
Perfect.
2 days.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
yeah.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman, sorry. In the report after, there was a letter dated August 21st about a surf through car wash. Is this, I'm guessing that is the west parcel?
That's correct.
Okay. That's it. Yeah.
Any further questions, applicant? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it very much.
Very much.
This is a public hearing. Anyone here who wishes to comment on this item is free. This is your moment. And you may come forward and make your comments. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the commissioners for discussion and possible motion.
Mr. Chairman, I had a question concerning 2 proposed conditions of approval for staff, if I may.
Oh, sure. Staff, return.
Ian, I had a question concerning condition number 8, where it talks about vehicle access would be subject to the approval of staff, essentially. Had a chance to drive down Richards Place this week, checking out. The condition of the road's pretty bad. I didn't know if this condition would, if there's anything in here that would require the applicant to improve that road, or if it's already on the CIP. I saw they were doing some work on Richards Way, so maybe that's not for Ian. Sorry.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, John Martini, Community Services Director. Commissioner Carey, that road is in bad condition. Commissioner Reed, you asked what the PCI was. It is less than 40. It is in the rehabilitation category of our roadway classification system, which means it's got to be dug up and completely rebuilt. It is in the inventory of projects to be added to the CIP. I think it will rank highly. It is always a matter of funding. As the commission's aware, we continue to lose roadway funding, and it's a balancing act every year between doing preservation projects on newer streets to keep them from degrading versus the very expensive rebuilds. I can't at this time tell you when this street will be rehabilitated, other than it is in the program, and with that low of a PCI, it'll rank highly in the rehabilitation category.
So it moves to the top.
So
of
to
the
the second part of your question, no, this condition will not require the developer to rehabilitate the road. When we look at infill development in particular, we are subject to the findings of the Nolan Dolan case, nexus and proportionality. Whereas there is a nexus in that a new business is coming adjacent to this residential road. However, you know, we can make the nexus. The proportionality was where we would fail. In simple terms, if we looked at the 101 average daily trips versus the loading from the existing neighborhood, the developer, the best I could probably do is get $1 out of the developer, and the other 99 would have to come from the city. So we might as well just keep it in the CIP and hope that funding increases in the future and we can get on some of these roads that are in bad shape. The winter, we are just now getting our new PCI numbers in. Last winter took a toll on our roads. It is citywide. We have Richards is very bad. We have others like it. So my staff will work very hard to come up with the CIP to propose to council for next year.
If it would have been a more intensive use, do you think it would have met the
you know, Commissioner Carey, that's always a tough balancing act. So, and Ms. McCormick, if I get out of line here with Nolan Dolan, yes, we would, let's think of a high traffic generator. If this site was going to house, you know, 3 or 4 fast food restaurants, some of the higher traffic generators, some of the medical office and dental offices are starting to show high trip generation due to the fact that, you know, you've got many, I'll take a dentist office, you've got a lot of hygienists working with a couple of dentists and they turn over. Then we would probably have to get into the proportionality and look to see if the majority is due to the new development and if it's legal to ask them to rehabilitate the street.
Okay. Then I had a question concerning condition number 3 with the architecture. Just kind of how I'm looking at it, I'm a little concerned about the west elevation, what's proposed, and perhaps the architectural compatibility of the neighborhood and the character of the adjacent businesses. Is there anything we can do in this condition to revise it to maybe look at landscaping to buffer it, or maybe requiring additional materials? Did you look at that as, or is it kind of dependent upon the future project coming in to kind of buffer?
That's the way that I had been looking at it. It's far enough back off of Pyramid that, from my view, it was hard to come in real hard on landscaping for their buffering, since there's going to be a use here that is going to do the majority of the screening that needs to be done. A lot of the architecture kind of carryover on that side is from when there was buildings. So it's being treated very similar to when there was buildings that actually faced out on that side. So since we were moving it further back, you know, having a higher architectural screening kind of requirement on something that now we're moving further back from the road from what it was previously approved seemed counter to
Follow up, if I may, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Okay, with the our design standards, what are the standards when there's a commercial use adjacent to another commercial uses, which would be in this case? So let's just say the car wash comes in. Would we require landscaping between that use and this use, or is there any requirements when it's commercial against commercial?
There wouldn't be a requirement for landscaping buffer between those two uses, no. There is a landscaping requirement between commercial and residential, which is being done along the both the north and the east sides of the property, but there would be none required between the two commercial uses.
Okay, so it's your opinion that a future development would buffer the visual impact to the west side? Okay,
An internal property line is the way I was looking at it.
thank you.
Further questions? Any further discussion on this? I will entertain a motion.
Chair, I'm prepared to make a motion. I move to approve conditional use permit CU 17-0006 associated with PCN 17-0045, adopting findings C1 through C6 and the facts supporting these findings as set forth in the staff report and subject to the 8 conditions of approval.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a motion, a second on a discussion? Yes, sir.
Point, if I may, Mr. Chairman. I have a little concern with the west elevation on this one, but I think the applicant's done a good job on, buffering and providing some architectural compatibility to the 3 other sides. I'm gonna go with staff on this one. I'm a little concerned with, the look. There's 20,000 cars a day that go down Pyramid. I don't want them to be looking at a metal mini warehouse, but I think there is some great articulation with the office development. The south wall, I think, is going to be a great improvement, and so I will be supporting the motion. And thanks for allowing me to have that on the record.
Your concerns are well taken. Thank you. Any other discussion? We're all intending to vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Again, we're reached a public comment section. Anybody wish to address this may have up to 3 minutes. None of that. Any comments from the commissioners? None? Any comments from our counselor? Then we may adjourn. Thank you.
Thank you.